Hey guys, welcome back to Retro Pop Planet. So today I plan to debut a new series on this channel, and it's thrift store and flea market hunting. Now, I've been thrifting for a long time. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube of people that like to buy and resell thrift store junk. I also like to buy and resell stuff that I find. I also keep a lot of it for myself. I just enjoy the hunt. I enjoy going to stores and finding unique items and things that I might have even forgotten about. I'm very much into 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s toys, records, books, electronics, video games, and a lot of collectibles. Now, I fully recognize that it is a crapshoot every time you go to a thrift store. There's a lot of times that you can go to 4 or 5 in a day and not find anything. I've also been incredibly successful, though. I have found an entire series of V1 Transformers from the early 1980s that somebody had donated. I found them across multiple bags in the toy aisle. I've also found a lot of G.I. Joes, vehicles, and action figures. My grail items, I love Star Wars toys, the vintage collection, the original. It's what I grew up with. And if I can find them out and about, I will keep them. And sometimes I will try to paint them or restore them. The Transformers I'm not into as much because I didn't have a lot of them when I was a kid because they were very expensive. I also love finding rare and unique albums at a thrift store, although now that vinyl has sort of made a comeback, it's a lot harder to find quality records at thrift stores and flea markets because people realize what their prices are these days. But when I was first building my collection in 2008, 2009, I actually was able to start a pretty modest record collection based off of stuff I found at a thrift store. And it's getting a little bit harder these days, but you can still find some gems. Now, most of the traveling flea markets are closed this year due to the pandemic. That also includes a lot of the toy fairs, but they have all also closed down due to the pandemic. Recently, I was in a thrift store, and I wish I would have filmed it, although I took a photo of my transaction. I picked up a vintage Winston Ghostbusters figure. Now, Ghostbusters figures were not something that I collected, although I did enjoy the cartoon. There were just too many to really keep track of. And a lot of those toys didn't last very long. They weren't very well made, and they break all the time. They're also impossible to find 100% complete, and they're usually missing pieces. But I did find a Winston for 75 cents at a thrift store, and a local toy store that deals in vintage toys gave me $8 for him without any weapons. So that was a pretty modest price gain. The other thing that I know people make a lot of money off of are video games. Now, I love video games, but usually I will get rid of the ones that I have played, but I know there is a collector's market for vintage video games. I'm just never very successful in finding them, and I think what happens is a lot of resellers will actually go on a day where they restock these stores probably early in the morning, and then they buy up everything that has any sort of value. So I've never really been that successful. But who knows? Let's quit talking and just get out there on the road and go to, I think I'm going to go to around 4 or 5 today. It's pretty rainy out. It's kind of gross. Fall is definitely here. But I want to get out and do something, so let's go. All right, store number 1 is Unique. Now, this is it's more of a thrift mall, I would guess. And the day that I'm here is actually pretty crowded. This is my favorite thrift store. I find all kinds of just random junk in here. I'm going to be doing a voiceover in these videos because all of these stores just blast the music so loud. It's like being in a club. And I don't want to get copyright striked. I appreciate bad art, and this place has a ton of bad art. I mean, just check out this cross stitch. Somebody completely spent days, weeks, months on it and then just abandoned it. And then most of this other stuff is just kind of trash. Halloween, 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 Halloween. Nothing really good, though. My eye was caught by this SpongeBob. It's actually in a dress book, and I thought it was kind of cool. But as I flipped through it, I realized it's the same drawing over and over and over again, so pass. Now, I actually use a lot of these huge binders for work, and when you buy them brand new, they're $13, $14, $15, and they're used, they're about $2 or $3 here. But I'm not going to buy any today. Now, this is pretty solid. Batman, the animated series. It's not a complete set, volume 1. Thought it was pretty cool. This store actually has quite a huge selection of DVDs and video games. None of these games are really any good. And what is this? Nerf N-Strike Elite. I think it's a Wii game. Yeah, it's a Wii game. Huge CD collection. Don't need any of this stuff. And actually, I've had success with those records down there, but I don't think I'm going to find any today. And quite a huge selection of books. Books is the one thing I've been missing during the pandemic because most of our libraries have been closed. And I'm not looking for vintage games. I don't play a lot of games anymore like this, but it totally caught my eye. Puzzles. I'm not one to buy puzzles, but I noticed a Blockbuster, and is this old? I don't think so. It looks like some sort of an exclusive from maybe a movie store. I'll put those aside for now. And they have a pretty good selection of toys now. You can actually find some pretty interesting vintage toys. This thing caught my eye. What the heck is it? Indie camera gear. I think it's a mug. Okay, get that. And here is the wall of bags and bags and bags of toys. If you have the time, it's probably not a bad idea to go through them. But again, it was a super crowded day. Looking back through the books, Garfield wide load. I like Garfield. I might have to get that. Alright, moving on to store number 2, a Goodwill. Now, this Goodwill is kind of generic, although they actually have a few locked display cabinets where you can actually find some pretty interesting stuff. It's not a huge store, but it's actually pretty well stocked. And I always check in on their media section first. They have a nice variety of DVDs and CDs. Not that many VHS tapes. I'm not currently in the market for CDs, although occasionally I'll pick up ones. I actually killed my collection in the early 2000s by downloading a bunch of iTunes songs and then selling all of my CDs, and then iTunes crashed and I lost all of my music. There's Richard Pryor in The Toy. Not a great movie, but I actually really enjoy it. And Moonstruck with Cher. I thought Bruce Willis was in this movie, not Nick Cage. And of course, the Simpsons movie. I actually saw this in the theater when it first came out. I probably haven't seen it since. Family Guy collection season 1 and 2, I think. I'm not really into the Family Guy, but this is a pretty nice pickup if you are. And yeah, check this out. Neil Gaiman, American Gods. I actually haven't read any Neil Gaiman, but people have always recommended it. Clive Barker, horror. This caught my eye because it's a vintage horror book, and I love vintage horror. Getting that. And then, oh no, don't dox. Don't ever leave your personal photographs inside of a book. And just checking out their collection of games. This is kind of interesting. Host a host, or how to host a mystery. This is Star Trek The Next Generation. I love that show. This is probably 30 years old at least. I'm not really sure what it is. Leave a comment if you played this game, if it's any good. Yeah, 1992. My grail item, one of them is a laser disc player, although I'm probably never going to find one in a thrift store. And what the heck is this thing? That's pretty terrifying. 1988. I guess technically it's old, although it's pretty broken. I'm not getting that today. It needs a lot of work. Mugs. I've actually found some pretty interesting vintage mugs in here, but nothing today. And glasses are kind of hit and miss. Most of these things you can see in here are just kind of generic, although this glass has a partner down here, and you always got to be on the lookout. And I'm just looking through the vintage toys. There's really nothing in here. I actually thought this shuttle was old because I had one like it when I was a kid, but this is Discovery, so it's probably only maybe 12 to 15 years old at the most. Again, I thought this turtle might have been older, but this is something recent. Probably one of the Nickelodeon turtles. Yeah, 2012 Nickelodeon. Now, I wanted to stop to get something to eat for lunch. This restaurant space is awesome. Pre-pandemic, this place is really rocking out. They have a bar. It's all Asian street foods, and I'm here today just to get some poke. Shout out in the comments if you like poke, if you even know what it is. It's Hawaiian salad bowls with a lot of fresh fish. It's super dope. I love it. Normally this place is really crowded and packed with people. It looks like the bar area is actually closed. All the TVs are off. But I'm gonna hit this lunch and then get back to doing some more thrifting. Turns out trying to eat chopsticks and filming with one hand is not too easy. Here's another thrift store that I like, Be Thrifty. Now, it is another thrift mall. They actually have a pretty good selection of vintage video games. I've found a ton of stuff in here before, but I'm looking, this is kind of picked over. If I miss anything, let me know if I miss something that might be of value. But as I'm going through it, it's just a lot of old sports games that I know that places like GameStop don't really care about, they don't want. And nobody's gonna buy MLB 2004. I'm sorry, it's just gonna sit on this shelf forever. More sports, junk. The Sims, maybe. PC games, I mean, most of these you can find on Steam now. Just, again, more old PC games that have probably been ported to other outlets. Not worth buying them in these boxes. And the one thing that's a bummer about this store is their record collection is just trash. I would never buy anything here. It's just a lot of bad, junky albums. And I don't know what this thing is. Hamster? They have a pretty cool selection of toys. However, something has changed with this store. They used to have 3 and 4 aisles of toys, and now it's just this small section. And it's been dominated recently with just really sort of like drive-through toys, Happy Meal toys, things like that. And these things are terrifying, these rabbits, and I'm always looking for things that I can paint. I thought this might have been something I could have worked on, but I decided to pass. These caught my eyes because these seemed relatively old, and then I saw that they're imported from the UK. They're kind of like rollerblades that attach to your shoes. I don't know how old these are. I've tried looking them up. Let me know if you know what these things are. And then this is super hilarious. I found about 20 of these America's Most Wanted hats. I used to love that TV show. These look like they might have been from a production crew or something along those lines. Now, normally I would go through some of these racks, but again, due to the pandemic, I'm not touching any of these clothes. And now I'm going to a Savers Superstore. These are great stores, however, I think this is the only one within 200 miles of me. And they have a huge collection of DVDs and VHS tapes. If you're into VHS tapes, this is a spot. Ace Ventura, I absolutely love that movie. I can't tell you how hard I laughed when I saw that in the theater. This thing is hilarious. If I had a VHS tape, I'd probably buy that just to see what's on it. And it's got Vanna White. Remember the Titans, another great movie. I actually was friends in college with a guy who was in this movie. They don't usually have a very good record collection here either, but this caught my eye. Cheech and Chong, I guess it's a comedy album. I might have picked it up, but the record quality was trash and this cover was completely ripped up. Oh no, no, nobody's buying this. Why is this even here? This caught my eye. This is a paper airplane book of Star Wars. I originally thought that the templates were all here, but most of them have been ripped out, so I'm passing on this. I thought this was kind of a cool idea. They actually have a pretty good vintage horror section. The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty. And here's another one. It's hard to videotape and hold this stuff with one hand. This is, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this author or this book. I might have to pass on this one. This is awesome. This is totally up my alley. And it looks like it's based on a movie. I'm definitely grabbing this book. This is amazing. I also love vintage sci-fi. This caught my eye originally, but I might pass on it. It looks like something from Unsolved Mysteries. 8-tracks. I don't know anybody that collects 8-tracks. You never see anybody talking about 8-tracks. Is there any value to these things? I have no idea. I haven't seen any 8-track players in forever. More Halloween. Nothing good. Most of the Halloween stuff tends to be kind of just junky. Now this thing is hilarious. What is this? Upright roaster kit. This just looks like some chicken torture device. And it's got a Kmart tag on it. Now this is kind of cool. This is a black and white television, and it's got outlets in the back that I thought I might be able to plug up my vintage Nintendo to, but if it was in color I might have grabbed this, but I'm gonna pass. This caught my eye though, totally straight out of the 90s. Some skate rat. This probably was his beloved CD player, and now it's sitting here. More toys. This place has a huge toy selection. And they actually have a ton of Legos, so if you have young children and you just want to give them a pile of Legos to play with, this is probably not a bad spot. This caught my eye, this weird black alien, and then I saw the vintage Power Ranger. I'm not into Power Rangers, so I just left him. And this might be, yep, it definitely is. It's, I think this is a real Ghostbusters figure. This might be one of the finds. You really have to dig through a lot of these toys. And it also looks like an Aladdin figure. And then we have a vintage wrestling, one of these bootleg guys that's kind of based on Masters of the Universe. He's old too. I didn't get him. And then sometimes you can find some vintage play sets or some vintage toys in here. I wasn't seeing a lot today. My blade builder that I did on this channel came from something like this. And Pop-O-Matic Trouble, my god, we used to play the heck out of this when I was a kid. I specifically remember my daycare had one of these and we would go at it all the time. They actually had a Halloween Universal Monsters one that I was super into. More video games. I actually had to come back to this section because there was a guy standing on his eBay looking through every single one of these, and he grabbed about 10 or 15 of these games. He probably looted it for all the decent ones. Again, just more Sims, Battlefield 2 on CD, just Guitar Hero after Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Nothing decent. Okay guys, we are back. Now, today wasn't the most successful of days, but I did enjoy getting out to some of the stores and just kind of see what was out there. Now, because this is a Halloween season, I'm very much thinking horror-related stuff. So as I mentioned in the video, I absolutely love vintage horror books. I think sci-fi and horror are probably some of my favorite genres of books to read. I am a total bookworm, and I picked up this Clive Barker, The Inhuman Condition. I don't know if it's any good. I only paid a few dollars for it, but I'm looking forward to reading this. I also got this The Devil's Reign. Now, this looks like it was a movie starring Ernest Borgnine, William Shatner, Keenan Wynn, Tom Skerritt. I've never heard of this, but this definitely looks like something I'm going to enjoy. I also picked up The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. Now, I love The Exorcist, but I don't think I've ever read the book, so I'm very much looking at getting into this book and reading it and seeing if it's just as scary as the movie. If you also love The Exorcist, last year I filmed a video in Georgetown of filming locations of The Exorcist, so go back and check out the catalog of videos and you will be able to see that. Now, Neil Gaiman is another author that I have not read, although people have recommended this author to me multiple times, and I don't usually see these other than libraries. Most of the libraries, though, have been closed during the pandemic, so I have been desperate to find things to read. So I am treating the thrift store like a library. Neil Gaiman's American Gods, this is, I guess, is supposed to be his most well-known novel. So again, another thing I'm looking forward to reading. And speaking of books, yes, I did pick up the Garfield Caution Wide Load. This is not something I plan on collecting. I do have a couple of other compendium Garfield books, but I think they made like 60 plus and they're still coming out. Garfield is such a weird character. He's very insane. I wouldn't exactly call it funny. It's just very strange. It always felt like it was for old people, but marketed to kids. But I enjoy drawing Garfield. I just enjoy some of the goofy setups and such a bizarre character, but I do enjoy reading Garfield. Now, the other weird thing that I came across at the thrift store was this. I didn't even know what it was at first. I had to look at it multiple times. This is a camera lens drink holder. So I guess it's designed for coffee. It actually is insulated, but I've just been putting water out of this and it's freaking great. I love it. It actually looks real, and I actually am using a Canon camera right now, so I thought this would be the perfect addition to my YouTube setup. The other thing I picked up, and I had no idea what it even was, I was confused because I saw a Blockbuster video. Now, Blockbuster's gone to my knowledge. I know there's one left in the world, but I did find these puzzles, and they came out in 2019, so I did a little bit of research. I guess they came out through Hot Topic or one of those stores in the mall, and they're pretty cool, actually. I didn't pay that much for it, and this is the Animal House one. And I also got the Jaws, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I had to get this. Now, I don't usually pick up puzzles in a thrift store because there's always pieces missing. But here, let me show you. I've started the Jaws one, and actually, so far, I have all the pieces for this set, so I'm pretty happy with this. Although this puzzle, even though it's 300 pieces, is actually kind of tough. So then the coolest find of the day was the Ghostbusters toys. I actually was shocked to find these because normally this Savers thrift store is not known for having a big toy selection. Normally I would go to the Be Thrifty location, but as I mentioned in the video, the Be Thrifty store has really sort of minimized how much toy selection they're carrying. They used to have 2 and 3 aisles and you could find all kinds of awesome stuff. But recently, it's only been like half of an aisle. This is a Savers. Thing that's a little challenging about these bagged items is that you kind of have to redonate all the junk that you don't want. Now, I'm going to go look through and see if there's anything else here of value, but I don't necessarily want everything that's part of this lot. First item up, this frog. He's a preschool toy. I'm going to send him back. NASA Snoopy. Pretty sure this is a Burger King toy. I've seen this as high as $30 on eBay, which is kind of hard to believe. This thing is terrifying and it talks. I can't find any information about it. Is this one of those like Tamagotchi toys? Let me know in the comments. This is a 2015 Trolls toy, and it's missing the thing that it's supposed to be cradling by. This wind-up Yoshi was intriguing. It's from a 2018 McDonald's Happy Meal, but I'm sending it home. I don't want it. Burger King Power Rangers toy, 2018. Not for me. Yeah, now we're talking. The real Ghostbusters. Ectoplasm. These would have been these little containers that would have held slime, and a ghost would have been in a container, and you can collect them all. This actually might be the rarest find on the day. This is the orange ghost, which comes as an accessory to the Ecto-1 from the real Ghostbusters lines of toys. I'm assuming this is just as rare. Generic G.I. Joe knockoff missing his hands. Thank you for your service. Another preschool toy? Nope. This Raja from Aladdin might actually be worth something. He's from the 1992 action figure playset. Let's see if I can flip him. A generic Playmobil figure missing his hat. Next. Another awesome find. A Peter Venkman from the original 1984 Ghostbusters line from Kenner. He's a little worse for wear and he's missing his proton pack, but I can get some money for him. And this is the one that caught my attention to the bags. The Fright Features Peter Venkman. He's missing his accessories, but he is in fantastic condition. But these two Peter Venkman Ghostbusters figures are pretty awesome, and the later one, which I think originally came with a Slimer. God, I would have loved to have gotten the Slimer. I should have looked for it, but I didn't know that that was an accessory. Is actually in pretty good condition. The original 1984 Peter Venkman here is in okay condition. He has some paint chips, and of course he's missing all of his weapons and accessories, but I think I could probably flip him for a reasonable amount of money. And then you let me know if there's any toys in this lot that are of value. As I mentioned, I do go to a lot of thrift stores, and one of the reasons for that is because I find a lot of different project ideas for art. And I have actually done a number of different art projects on this channel based off of things that I found at the thrift store. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like this kind of thing, I will keep doing them. And so if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Definitely let me know what I missed. So again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.